Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel and I'm a huge Eurovision fan as well as a musician. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is watching back the rehearsal clips, the exclusive rehearsal clips for semi-final one, which were released yesterday. Now, I have actually seen these. I'm not going to be lying and saying this is a first reaction, and I've seen all the first rehearsal clips as well from TikTok and things like that on Twitter. So it was inescapable yesterday. I was also not feeling very well. I had a bit of an ocular migraine. I get those quite often and I've spoken about this before. I do get them very regularly, so I kind of was a bit wiped out and I just thought, I can't react to this live, unfortunately, so I just watched them through. What I'm going to be doing is just kind of going through them and giving you my analysis and my first initial thoughts on these, which I picked up yesterday, and just kind of like going through ones that impressed me, ones that didn't, ones I'm more worried about, ones I'm now considering, that kind of thing. So let me know in the comments down below, obviously, what you think about these rehearsals. Give me your list of qualifiers, maybe tell me who you think is now going to go through, who is a potential NQ now after seeing these initial clips. I'm really interested to see. It's just like this time of year where the rehearsals, I always forget how much influence they have over my opinion completely. It makes me change my mind just by seeing things in the flesh and seeing things on the screen. It's so important because a song could lose its connection towards an audience very easily with a really bad kind of camera cuts and colour scheme, that kind of thing. So let's get straight into this. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and yeah, I'm excited. Right, Norway. So the main concern I had about this one was the outfit change, really. I'm not quite vibing with the new hairstyle. I like what she's wearing, but it's the crown I don't quite understand. But this orange light effect they had here is very effective. It looks really cool, this kind of catwalk of orange. And vocals do sound quite good. I think the issue, I guess, with the rehearsals is that because you don't have the crowd, you can't seem to get the feeling of whether the audience is enjoying it or not. And sometimes it can look a bit bare without the crowd. So you have to kind of like take that away from what you're seeing on the screen. So I think Norway is solid. It looked really good. It's kind of like an elevated version of what they did at MGP. But the only issue I think with this, like I said, is the outfit. But also she kind of didn't seem like she was enjoying herself as much in this clip as she was in the national final. But I reckon that is literally just because you need to be feeding off the audience and she doesn't have an audience there. I think that really does change the game a little bit. But I'm not concerned about this one's chances. I still think it's going through at this point. Yeah, it was a good rehearsal and I do like some of the choices that they made. So now let's move on to Malta, the busker and the slot of death. But I do think they're standing out quite well in this case with the colour scheme, making full use of the LED, that kind of thing. Only problem is, I think some of these camera angles, as you'll see, are a bit static, and sometimes the dancing and the choreography feels a bit flimsy, and when you've got a static camera it can really expose if your choreography isn't hitting all the marks properly. But I like what they're doing with these transitions, with these props. It's really colourful and it's bringing this story to life on the stage, which is really great. Because I think the problem with some performances is that everything can seem very one note, not very much going on stage, and they're making it more about kind of the performer and their voice. But with this, they're really like adding bells and whistles, I think, to boost their qualification chances, especially as this is a televote only semi. So I do like what Malta's done. I just think they could really make these camera cuts a bit sharper, maybe use more strategic camera angles to cover up some of the more clunky dance moves in there, but otherwise a really good effort. So Serbia is next. Main thing I noticed with this one, I think, is the font. I like the idea of the font and the graphics on screen, the kind of video game vibe, but I do think some of the fonts are a bit cheapening and they could have worked on it a little bit more. But his energy in this rehearsal clip is there, and actually I think this had more energy than Alessandra when I first saw it. So this is a good clip to show. I know he wasn't quite happy with what was going on in the rehearsal, but this does look really great. And then Latvia. So this is pretty much like what they did in national final. I do like what they did here. You know, if something isn't broken, there's no point changing it. So they've done a good job. but I do worry about running order here, whether this will get a little bit kind of swallowed up by some of the more up-tempo songs. I hope this goes through. But this is very intimate. They're really using these close-up camera shots to the advantage. I feel like other countries, from what we've seen in these clips so far, have not been kind of utilising those more intimate shots, and Latvia is doing that, this kind of use of light play, cameras being really kind of tuned into the emotions of the lyrics as well, so it all feels like really well put together and cohesive. But yeah, it's just whether the general public vibes with this one. I hope it goes through. It's my 4th place of the year. And then Portugal is next, so this one was probably one of my biggest disappointments out of all of this, just because it's a very, like I said, one note. You know, it's one colour, there's not much going on with the lighting, they don't have an LED, and I feel like the issue with this song is that, you know, she has one of the best vocals of all these rehearsal clips, like the strongest, but there's not enough going on stage to sell the song any further than that. And I feel like when you've got a general public, if they're going to vote for you, you've got to give them a reason to. And having a good stage presence and vocal performance sometimes just isn't enough, and it's not going the extra mile. And I feel really worried about this one's chances now. It's a great song, it really is, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that could have been elevated. It needed to pop on stage, and unfortunately having this one block of colour of red, Mimi Cat is blending in, and as much as she sounds great, I think they have not done enough here to sell the song completely, unfortunately. Let's move on to Ireland next. This one, I'm not vibing with the outfit. I do like the effect they have on the LED floor. Unfortunately, as you'll hear here, vocals are not very strong. He strains up to that higher note, and the backing vocalist is hitting the note, so they're clashing. So it feels really like this could potentially be last in the semi-final after watching that. I just feel really disappointed. They could have done something else, and I think apart from the LED floor and some of the graphics, which were quite good, the vocal performance is not selling it, the outfit's not selling it, and I feel like the band setup has been kind of displaced. They're a band, but where's the chemistry? They've been kind of put in all these far away corners of the stage, and then the lead singer is kind of walking around, and it's like we want to see the kind of connectivity of the band and that chemistry, but because they've all been dispersed, that's gone, and it feels kind of very distant and cold, to be honest, and this should be a warm anthemic song. So that's where this is going wrong, I think. I don't see Ireland in the final this year, unfortunately. They went for something a little bit more intimate, a bit more close in proximity to the audience as well. The band just being closer together in general. I think this would have elevated its chances, but I think they've dropped the ball on this one. So Croatia is next. So very similar to the national final. I think they didn't need to make too many changes. Colours are popping and the LED does look really good here. But my only issue with this clip is the lead singer's vocals, as you hear here, slightly out of time with the backing track. So we just need to tighten that up a little bit. But I'm quite confident about the televote for this one. And that shot at the end was very mesmerising. Very stark, very dark as well. So Croatia, I think, did a good job here, but they could have maybe elevated it a bit further. But yeah, it looks pretty good, and I think the colour scheme in the LED kind of stands out, especially after Ireland was before. I think this will be kind of the nail in the coffin for Ireland, potentially. Right, Switzerland. This one surprised me, I think. When I heard that there was going to be dancers on the stage, I was concerned, but because it's Sasha John Baptiste, she brings really nice concepts, she makes things work, and she's made this work for me actually. It looks good, it looks expensive, the outfit, for some reason it's working. On paper I would have said that wouldn't work, but in practice it is working. And vocals do sound quite good too. He sounds like the studio version. So do you know what? That one I'm gaining a bit more confidence in its qualification chances. At first I thought, okay, mid-tempo kind of ballad, anti-war song. Will this resonate with the televote as much as the betting odds think it will? I wasn't quite sure, but I do think now this has a potential to go through. So if it qualifies, I'm not going to be that surprised anymore. I think they have taken an interesting staging concept and they've made the song a ballad, televote friendly. So they've done a good job there. And now we have Israel. This is an interesting one. So Noah, they've chosen to show her dance break here instead of any vocals, so we can't hear what her vocal quality is like. There's an advert. So with this, we're kind of getting the choreography. I'm not actually a massive fan of the floor choreography. It feels a bit disjointed, but then here, when the dancers come in, this looks expensive. This looks really good, and the LED in the back, wow, it looks good. Tighten up the camera angles a little bit more. This is epic, honestly. That looks expensive, well rehearsed, all polished. Backing dancers and Noah have chemistry. They all look like they're enjoying themselves. My only issue, like I said, was with the kind of solo dance break. It didn't feel cohesive. Some of the moves didn't look like they gelled one after the other. It looked a bit clunky, but she is still working it really well. So I would have changed a few things in the choreography there. But like I said, when the other dancers come in, man, that looks amazing. So now we have Moldova. So this one is standing out visually for sure. Really interesting ideas with the horns there. And I think this will go through. It is a televote magnet in a kind of more subtle way, I think. So they've done a good job. And I do think the crowd will be vibing off this one, which will kind of make the performance feel a bit more special on the night. So yeah, they've done a good job here. I do worry when he does that overhead kick though. Yeah, now we have Sweden. So this one, right, we'll see in a minute. But my main concern when I saw the pictures for this one was, how is the production going to come together to get the same beautiful, almost like a dystopian looking atmosphere that they had at Melfest? How are they going to recreate this on the stage at Eurovision? The smoke and the sand and this kind of dark feel. Unfortunately, it's very bright and I feel like they've dropped the ball with this one slightly. The wooden screen panels they've got there above her head, the wood is showing, and it's bringing this light into the shot that we probably didn't need in the first place. And secondly, the size of it doesn't matter. I think shrinking the box, I think it's not changed my opinion. I still think it's working. The problem is, as you'll see here, what she's standing on is making everything feel very small. I feel like a camera shot which avoided the height of the box would make this look so much better. She is vocally straining a little bit as well here, but I'm not concerned about that because I think it's a rehearsal. She'll probably have some vocal rest at some point. So this is looking good, but it's lost that moody atmosphere that they had at Melfest. So I am slightly worried about how this one's going to look on the television, because for the Eurovision fans, you know, we saw what happened at Melfest and that really set the bar high. So whatever they've done here, obviously we're going to feel a little bit disappointed in how it's looking, but I'm sure it will come together really well. And I'm sure that the vocals on the night will be tighter and she will be just as good as she was at Melfest. I feel confident about this one. But yeah, I would just make the camera a little bit higher so it's not showing or exposing the fact that there's a smaller box and that the boxes are on a height as well. So that was the only kind of issue I had with that one, but I still thought it was a good rehearsal. Yeah, and now Azerbaijan, this one surprised me. This one, I think what they've done is they've really tapped into the kind of sweet and charming nature of the song with the staging, and it's very colourful. In fact, coming after Sweden, which was more kind of like beige looking, this feels really, really kind of like cute and sweet and bright. I like what they've done here. And I think that pause they have, for instance, is going to kind of hopefully have some applause and cheers. If it kind of falls flat with the audience, that will be a very awkward moment in this song. But I do think Azerbaijan have kind of slightly increased their chances of qualifying. I don't think this is finishing last now because it has an element of charm to it, which I do think people will pick up the phone and vote for. But my only concern is, you know, how's the audience going to feed off this? Is this the toilet break entry? And then when they do that pause, is it going to be complete radio silence in the crowd? I will be there on the night, so we'll see what happens. But yeah. Right, Czechia. I'm so undecided about this because I really like the staging. It's so dystopian, and I like the braids and I like the styling, but the vocals are not hitting it for me. They feel very kind of lacking in soul and power. We need the attack that they had in the music video. It just feels a bit tame, and I'm really worried about how that one's gonna do. I really am, because it's not got that same punch in the gut feeling that you get when you listen to the studio track. So I'm feeling really worried. I hope that qualifies, but it could be a shock non-qualifier. It feels a bit more likely because I'm not getting that same feeling that I got when I heard the song for the first time and saw the music video. I feel like if they brought that concept from the music video and somehow brought this reverberated sound, this angelic sound to the stage, this would have definitely been pushing to be in the top 3 in the semi. But unfortunately, the vocals aren't sounding angelic. They're sounding very flat and one-dimensional. So it makes me upset. But anyway, let's move on to the Netherlands now, because this is interesting. They have raised the key of the song to make the song a bit more comfortable for both singers, which is really interesting because usually when a singer's feeling a bit uncomfortable with the key, they lower the key, they don't make the key go up. So I found that really interesting how both of them feel more comfortable singing in a falsetto. Now the issue with this, I think, before I play the clip, is they're singing basically the whole song in falsetto. So they're not using the chest voice, and I feel like what made this song a bit more impactful and powerful in the studio cut was having this kind of belted notes, these really kind of well-controlled notes, the sustain, the vibrato they were bringing in there. They haven't really got it in this falsetto version. However, I do think the staging brings a little bit more chemistry, which I was afraid that there wasn't going to be any. So we've got a little bit more chemistry, and the colours and the smoke look really nice. A bit more intimate. I'm still not sure about it though. It's not crash and burn for sure, but it might just miss out. I feel like it could come 11th. I feel like it could come 11th in the semi-final. They have improved it a lot from what I saw at the pre-parties, but I'm not sure that it's quite enough. But we'll see. I think whatever they do, they should be proud of what they've done, because they really have resurrected the song and brought it up to a good level. But as it's televote only, I'm not quite sure. And lastly, we're going to end with Finland, which I'm really excited about. I think Finland just elevated their staging from the national final. They completely scaled it up. And this concept with the shadow in the back is amazing. It really is. The only problem I had with this rehearsal clip is that his vocals have been turned down quite low. We need to hear him. We need his full impact. Then the audience will connect with this. Just a bit louder. Turn his mic up, turn the backing vocalist down. That was the only critique I had about that one. But otherwise, the staging concept is amazing. The shadow, the serpent's tongue effect they had as well looked amazing. I think they've really brought their A game, and I do think Finland are going to win this semi-final. I'm quite confident in that. But yeah, like I said, he needs to turn up the microphone. Like, we need to hear the growly vocals, we need to hear the full impact of that, because then it will sell the song further. But I know that he did have a couple of issues in the rehearsal anyway with the sound and not being able to hear himself, so I'm aware of it. But you can kind of see that in the Finnish national final he was louder and that had more impact, but it's looking great. So there we have it. Those are my initial thoughts on all the rehearsals clips here. Let me know down below what you thought of all of these. It's interesting, my mind has changed on a few. So I will be bringing my updated prediction video the day before the semi-final, and please stay tuned as well because I'll react to semi-final 2 and of course the big 5 when those clips come out. So I hope you guys have a good rest of the evening and I'll see you soon. Bye.